My guest this hour is fed up with hearing about spoiled, self-indulgent celebrities and their lives of excess. While we may enjoy seeing successful people fall from grace, it would be nice occasionally to hear some inspiring stories behind today's celebrities. Do you have Charlie Sheen burnout? Ginny Dye is here to help you with that. And I welcome her to the show now. Hi, Ginny.
Hello, T.D. We're going to have fun tonight. I can tell.
Where are you?
I am in Bellingham, Washington, about an hour north of Seattle.
An hour north of Seattle. I bet it's drizzling.
You know, I am happy to report that after enough rain to mold anybody, the skies are clear.
Ginny, have you actually written dozens of books?
I have. I've actually.
God, let's stop right there and think about that.
30.
What?
30 books, yep.
You know, I have yet to write my first. It's so daunting, the idea of writing a book. I've written some little articles here and there, and even that taxes the old gray matter. But a book, that's often a couple-year affair, and you give a bit of your soul to it. You really don't ever get that back. Now, you've written dozens of books.
Mm-hmm. You know, TD, you eat a book or write a book just like you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Yeah, but I've never eaten an elephant, Ginny.
Well, maybe that's where we should start. We will teach you first how to eat an elephant, and then we'll work on the book.
I remember the story of the Andes athletes who crashed many years ago and lived on human flesh. I think of writing a book more like that.
I'm very happy to tell you that is not the image that I hold in my mind when I sit down to write a book.
And yet, when you think about it, is an elephant any tastier?
You know, I think it would have to be. I'm going to go with that scenario anyway.
Yeah, because elephants find us much more palatable. So, 30 books all on the same topic?
No, one of the things about me is, number one, I have no patience, so I write really fast. So the idea of taking 2 years to write a book, I cannot even begin to wrap my brain around. And then
so
I
these
write
are
on
sloppy
a variety
affairs?
of topics. So teen novels, historical adult novels, nonfiction. If I just want to write about it, I write about it.
Right, but do they make any sense? I mean, it sounds like you're just almost scribbling, not even running it past an editor.
Oh, no. These are good books, TD, I got to tell you. See, God just knew I don't have patience. So I listen to writers, and I learned a very long time ago to really not say this if I go to a writer's conference, because they talk about, I worked all day long to write a page and a half, and that's fine. But if I had to work all day long to write a page and a half, I'd never write a thing. When I'm working on a book, I usually average anywhere from 20 to 30 pages a day.
Good Lord Almighty. So how long does it take you to write the whole book?
Well, when I'm doing my historical novels, I research for 3.5 months, and I write for 2 months, and I have a 600-page novel, and I'm done.
Huh. It almost sounds like going potty.
Well, like I said, I don't have patience. So if if it took me years, I would never do it. I love the creation, and then I like to go on to the next thing, and then I love the creation, and I like to go on to the next thing.
Do these damn things sell?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, come on.
Actually, pretty well.
Really?
Yeah, they do. I actually write all of my historical novels under a pen name of Virginia Gaffney.
Now, how'd you come up with that? Because I think Ginny Dye is a great name. Ginny Dye. Come back to the 5 and 10, Ginny Dye, Ginny Dye. Or what was that movie? Come back to the 5 and dime. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
I don't.
Hey, Flash, research that. It was a movie I saw years ago called Come Back to the 5 and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now that connects with me.
Why? Did you have a sex change operation?
No, sweetheart. Not recently.
That's what the movie's about.
Maybe in the plans. Isn't that what you were going to talk to me about tonight?
Well, I'll go either way, depending on what's ultimately going to result in better pay. This latest topic, have you been doing a lot of interviews today already?
I have. I've done several today.
God.
I also did a show from the company that I own, and so I'm running on sheer adrenaline right now because I usually get up at like 3 in the morning. I'm an early morning person.
You know, that's not early morning. That's not getting up early morning. 4:30 and on is getting up early morning. At 3, you're not. What is 3? 3 is.
3 is getting up in the middle of the night.
Your sleep's interrupted. You were going to sleep, but you decided against it.
No, what's going to be really funny is that and I can't believe I'm doing this, except they really, really needed me to. I'm doing an interview at midnight. I don't even know that I have.
Not with George Norrie.
Huh?
Who with?
With the station in Denver. With Steve. No, I don't. Rick Barrett. I've done so many. Rick Barber. That's his name. Isn't that his name?
Oh yeah, Rick Barber. They call that. What do they call it? The midnight. The Midnight Barber, I think, is the name of that show.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. They called me a little.
Yeah, he'll cut you to the
said,
quick.
Can you please do this? I'm like, I don't have operating brain cells at midnight, but I'll do the best that I can.
You could say to him, I wrote a couple of books without operating brain cells. I could sure talk to you. Because, I mean, one of those 30 had to be just a throwaway deal, wasn't it?
No way. I never give anything but my best.
So
you asked me how I came up with the name, and see, this is important because this is all about what I do. Because, you know, I've always loved to write, okay, but when I was 16, my grandfather, whose last name was Gaffney, okay, he was a really, really gifted writer. But he never did anything with it because life got in the way in the guise of World War I when he was pulled out of the Citadel and sent off to war and came home to a wife and a baby and all that kind of stuff. And so he never did anything with his writing talent, but he was so gifted. So he's laying in his bed and he's dying. Okay, I'm 16 years old, and he calls me into his bedroom, and he took my hand and he said, Jenny, you have the gift I never used. Whatever you do, don't let it go to waste like I did. Well, TD, I know he meant that to be inspirational, but the truth is it absolutely scared me to death because all I could think was, what if I don't have the gift?
Yeah.
What if I'm not good enough?
And here you could have whispered in his ear, Gramps, I'm going to ultimately have literary diarrhea.
Right. Right. But I didn't know, and I was so afraid that I just quit writing altogether. I mean, I did my school assignments, but other than that, I quit writing period, because it was the only thing, and when I thought about writing my first book, it was the only thing I cared so much about that I didn't think that I could handle it if I tried it and failed. So I simply didn't try, and then I figured, well, I can't fail if I don't try. Well, you and I both know that I failed simply because I refused to even try. So I'm 29 years old, and I go from running 8 miles a day to being in bed for 6 months. I thought I was going to go out of my mind.
Wait a minute. Why were you in bed?
I got Epstein-Barr virus, chronic fatigue, whatever they wanted to call it back then. Okay, and all I knew was I went from being incredibly active to not being able to move. I'd already read 83 books. I didn't think I could stomach reading another one. And the first little... You
counted the books you read?
I did. Well, it got to be ridiculous. What else was I going to do? I couldn't move. Literally, I couldn't get up. So I'm just reading these crazy books, trying to keep myself from going crazy. And then that was when the first Apple, the Mac Plus computers were coming out. So I taught myself how to use a computer, and I wrote my first book out of sheer boredom. Never thought I'd do anything with it. Just wrote my first book, and 3.5 years later, that was the first book I got published. And then it just kept rolling from there.
What was that first one about?
It was a teen novel. I worked with teenagers for about 20 years. They're my favorite part of the human race.
They're my least favorite.
Oh, I love them.
Huh.
I absolutely love them.
What do you like about them?
With 4-year-olds, I would freak out.
Oh, I love 4-year-olds.
Huh. Oh, I can't deal with them.
They do what you say.
No. But you can't hold a conversation with
Sure you can. You just got to talk about ponies. What do you talk to teenagers about?
Oh, everything. That's the thing. Absolutely everything. Teenagers are so fascinating, and they're so curious, and they're so irreverent at times. And, I mean, you can just have these amazing, amazing conversations. And
but how many times can you hear like before you want to hit them?
Oh, no. Indefinite.
I see.
Indefinite. All you need for a teenager to adore you is if you adore them first. That's all.
That works with a dog, too.
It does.
The first book, did the critics say you did a fine job?
They did, actually. I was very grateful. It's like I said, I don't have a lot of patience. So, and pretty much I write it. What I write is what you get.
Which one of those 30 was your least favorite?
My least favorite. Wow.
You never thought about this?
No. I can tell you what my favorite is.
I know, but let's not take the Pollyanna approach throughout your entire existence. I mean, from time to time, how about a little walk on the dark side? Which one sucked?
None of them. I mean, I'm really sorry, TD, but when I decide to do something, I give it 1,000%.
Well, I know, but so do a lot of guys who fail.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you about other things I failed at.
Well, you failed at a book. You didn't have 30 great books. Which one was a dud?
I got to tell you, TD, none of them.
Well, what did you fail at in life?
Wow. Let's see. I failed at a couple of marriages.
That a girl.
That's a pretty big failure.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Now we can talk. Now we're human beings.
Like
I was worried there for a minute. Okay, everything's good.
Yeah,
I'm taking my jacket off and settling in for the long haul. So, this Charlie Sheen obsession, what's that about?
Oh, I am just fed up with all of the time that's spent focusing there when there are celebrities who have done such amazing things, who have overcome so many challenges to get where they are, who are doing so many good things with their life. I mean, TD, I started writing these stories 6 years ago, and we now have a collection of 894.
What do you mean we?
Well, I started writing them just myself, and I did about 100 to 150, I guess. And then I realized there were just so many stories, and we created this whole division of my company around this. And I brought in 2 other people, and I said, because, folks, we will never live long enough to write the stories of all these people that need to be written. So I taught them how to write, kind of like in my model and formula and that kind of stuff. And I said, let's create these stories. And so now between the 3 of us, we have 894 of them. And I use them for a lot of different things, but I've compiling them into some books and that sort of thing.
894 anti-Charlie Sheen. In other words, 894. What the other side's up to stories.
Absolutely. People who have achieved great success, who've overcome huge odds, who are making a huge difference with their lives. I mean, just on and on.
But are they interesting?
Oh, they're fascinating.
A lot of times that's the problem with do-gooders. They're not interesting.
Yeah, let's do this, TD. Okay, I'm going to play a segment of the Guess Who game with you.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to tell you a story, the beginning of a story, and then you're going to have to tell me, when I say Guess Who, you're going to have to tell me who it is.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right. In 1931, there's your first clue. In 1931, Marguerite was only 3 when her daddy packed a suitcase and sent her and her 4-year-old brother alone on the train to live with his mother. She didn't want to go. 4 years later, with no notice, he returned to usher the kids back to his estranged wife. She didn't want to do that either. 1 year later, at age 8, Marguerite suffered intimate abuse from her mother's boyfriend. After confiding in her brother what he'd done to her, he told the family how his sister had been violated. Well, the boyfriend spent only 1 day in jail. However, he was found beaten to death just days after his release. After that incident, when they were returned to their grandmother yet again, Marguerite didn't protest. She couldn't. Understandably traumatized, she bottled up her pain and she quit speaking. She thought if she spoke, her mouth would just issue out something that would kill people randomly, so it was better not to talk. Well, nearly 5 years would pass before she began speaking again. Well, when she was 13, a close friend and teacher who really believed in her simply loved her. She introduced her to classic literature. She slowly coaxed her to speak again, and this friendship stirred something within this teenager, and she began to open up. Her successes were slow and steady in coming, occurring between a lot of tragedy and heartache. You see, Marguerite also had a baby out of wedlock, had a lover who forced her to work as a prostitute, married and divorced multiple times, and lost her son for a time to a kidnapping. Many things happened to her and around her that should have kept this woman from following her dreams, but she didn't let the obstacle stand in their way. She let them be stepping stones from which to learn. Now, you probably know her by her brother's nickname for Marguerite.
I know who this is.
Okay, guess who? Who?
Shirley Temple.
No. Survey says,
Then it's her brother's nickname?
Yep.
Lucky?
Survey says,
Who is it?
Maya Angelou. I was so surprised.
So what do we do with something like that?
Oh, you realize that, her life story isn't easy to hear. Okay, it's not as pretty as her acclaimed poetry. It was so hard for me to believe that mute little girl went on to be billed as poet, dancer, producer, historian, playwright, director, best-selling author. She's 84. She still performs and speaks across the world.
So, but I mean, when you hear a story like that, I don't know what to do with that.
Because it's
what do you do with it?
It's so important for me and it's so important for so many people to realize that it was out of her struggle and her pain that she found her voice. Okay, it was slow in coming, but it came.
But here's what's interesting. You can tell that story to 100,000 people, and 99,000 of them will still complain that the garbage guy isn't on time today. And that'll be a downer for them.
But until they begin to let the truth of these penetrate their heart and their mind. And that's the whole reason I do it, because it's done that for me.
You ever think it's DNA?
I don't. Because there are so many people, I know so many people with tremendous talents and abilities and that kind of stuff that just will simply never, ever accomplish anything with it because they haven't learned how to press through the pain. They haven't learned how to walk around the obstacles.
Well, how did Marguerite learn that? Who taught her that? Nobody was there teaching her that. It just was inside her.
She had a teacher who believed in her and loved her. And I think so often that's the difference.
Okay, you're right. I forgot about that part of the story. The teacher's the one who gets credit, right?
Partly, certainly. Yes, she had to have it within her to press through all those challenges. Is that DNA? I don't know. I look at people, and some of them live these horrendous lives, and they have every reason to end up crappy human beings. And they end up wonderful human beings. And then there's people who have had golden lives, like Charlie.
Well, has he really? If he had a golden life, what was he doing stealing Dad's car at 15 and making sure he lost his virginity to a prostitute? What was going on in his life at 15 that he was doing that?
Well, I absolutely agree with that. Okay, that's a golden life from people's perception. The truth of the matter is that Charlie is a very troubled man.
Really?
Okay, I pity him more than anything else. I wouldn't want to be him. Hey, but it's not about slamming Charlie, because he's living his life, and he's probably living it the best that he knows how.
Well, there you go.
It's not my place to judge it, but what I want to do is throw the light on all of the other celebrities that people have no clue.
Okay,
really,
then
where
the
they
critical
come from.
question, critical question, Ginny, is why are we as Americans more interested in Charlie's story than in the story you just told of Maya Angelou? And we are more interested in Charlie.
Yeah, because everybody likes to think somebody else's pain is bigger than their own, or somebody else's drama is bigger than their own, to take the focus off of themselves.
I think it's because Maya Angelou's story makes us feel lesser. I think we don't feel as good hearing her story because it humbles us, and in some cases maybe even goes further and humiliates. Whereas Charlie's story makes us feel better about our lives.
I don't know that I'd say it.
At least I'm not Charlie.
Maybe it makes us feel better about our lives, but I think it really just gives us company in the misery of the lives that so many people live. I have the privilege every day of talking to thousands and thousands of people through my company that are starving for the kind of stories like this. Okay, because people want so much more than what they have, TD. There are people who are terrified. They're unemployed, they're losing their homes, they're all that kind of stuff. And there's a part of them that grasp onto stories like Charlie's, and then there's a much bigger part of them that says, give me a reason to hope. Give me a reason to believe that my life can be different than what I'm living right now. And I see what happens through the media and through so much stuff where people want to focus on the negative. And I'm like, why? Because, yeah, people will eat that stuff up, But ultimately, at the end of the day, has it done them any good at all?
No.
No.
No, and you're right about that. The negative is not going to help us at all.
No.
It's not going to do us any favors. Might entertain us for a few minutes. But the positive often needs to have something else associated with it as well, and I've never been able to fully figure out what that is. Because we really wouldn't buy a newspaper if it was called the Good News Daily.
Actually, I do have a subscription to something called the Good News.
It sounds like a Christian publication.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's just what's good happening out in the world, and then that's what they talk about. And I mean, because here's the truth: is that there's so many more good things happening. There are. Do
we know that for a fact? I'm willing to believe it's even Stephen, but do we know there's more good things?
I think there is.
Well, where are you getting that?
Well, because I mean, think about it. Look at the people. Let's just look at it number-wise. Okay, look at the people in your sphere of influence. I mean, your neighbors, your family, your all. How many of them are crappy people going out and murdering?
Well, you don't have to murder. You don't have to murder. But how about if your kid's feeling bad today because of what happened in school and you're watching television or on the computer instead of talking to them? There are all sorts of little things that are not as bad as murder, but that don't put the people toward sainthood either. I just don't know if in every household on my block more good things are happening than bad. I don't know.
Yeah. I think there are. And is that a Pollyanna attitude? I don't think so.
Did more good things happen in your two marriages than bad? It's unlikely. Studies show that divorce generally comes when more bad things happen.
Actually, for me, there were probably more good things if I looked at it honestly. Okay, it was just that between two people who were imperfect, the bad overcame the good.
All right. Maybe that's it then. Maybe the bad just has a little bit more potency in this world sometimes than the good.
And I think because of whatever people are dealing with in their lives from their past or whatever, that the bad overshadows the good.
I'll buy that.
And we end it.
I buy that.
Okay.
Very good. Let's close with what you wanted to close with.
I want to give all of your listeners a gift today. I have actually compiled 100 plus of these stories into a book called If You Want to Be a Success, Learn from 100 plus people who already are. They go to ultimatelifegift.com. It's theirs as my gift for them. And they also can claim a free VIP guest pass to the event of their choice within the Ultimate Life Company, which is astounding. And we've got amazing speakers coming up who are giving away hundreds of dollars of free bonuses. Your listeners can have all this for free. They just need to visit ultimatelifegift.com and know that I'm going to do everything I can to pour amazing stories into the world to combat all of the bad.
Very good. Ginny Dye, I appreciate your good work and your time tonight on short notice. Thank you so very much. Give that website out one more time, please.
ultimatelifegift.com. And thank you for having me on, TD. I had a good time with you.
Thank you, Ginny. Good night.
Good night.
And we'll be back.